were lucky enough to do one last interview with some of the sensational cast and crew members of the upcoming play, The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity. They talked about the show and the process of putting wrestling center stage at the Chance.
Hey guys.
Hey, what's happening?
Hey, what's happening, James? Good to see you, man.
Good to see y'all. So yeah, thanks for joining me to chat about Chance Theater's production of The Elaborate Entrance of Chad Deity by Christopher Diaz, the Obie Award-winning Pulitzer Prize finalist drama about the world of professional wrestling, but really about neoliberal capitalism and the American dream, but really about structural racism in America, but really a comedy, a satire. So Jeremy, I believe this is your third time directing the show. So what do you love about the show that's brought you back to it 3 times? And what has been your approach to the show this time? And finally, what do you hope audiences take away from it?
I've gotten to direct the show 3 times, a couple of times in Chicago. And in fact, also, we started a production back in March 2020 with the Chance Theater. We were 2 weeks into rehearsal. Rudy, who is playing Mace, has since joined our production, but Londale, who's playing Chad, RJ, who's playing VP, and James, who's playing EKO, all were on that production in March 2020. And even since then, I feel like for me, the play, my understanding of the play and the importance of the play has shifted. The pandemic kind of brought a lot of things into perspective, and the racial unrest of the summer, and I think our society responding to the murder of George Floyd and recognizing a little bit more about how race in America had been not discussed enough. Like, I think we really ignored a lot of how race affected individuals. And I think this play is attempting to discuss that, untangle that, comment on that within the world of professional wrestling as a metaphor for America. And the world of professional wrestling leaned heavily on racist tropes, still continues to do so.
What's been the most fun and rewarding part of working on the show?
The cast members that give me that energy, because we all have stuff going on throughout the day. Our rehearsals are in the evening, and so we all show up with our own whatever happened that day is in our mind. And we've all some of us have 9-to-5 jobs, so we're working throughout the day, and then we have to go to rehearsal at night, get home late, wake up early, and do it all over again. And so sometimes we all show up with our own different energy levels. And I'm certainly not immune to that. Sometimes I feel like I have more energy going into rehearsal than other days, but it really is the cast that gives me that energy. And then I've been telling, I was talking about this with you, James, the other day, is that every time we get out of rehearsal at 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or whatever it may be, I have so much energy now. You know what I mean? I'm so wired, I'm hungry. So I get home and I eat, and then I'm running through everything that just happened. And then I go to sleep and I'm trying to sleep, and I'm let's try that next time. Let's do this next time. Let's have all this. And then I have to wake up. I got to write it all down because I know I'm going to forget it.
As Mace, I would say it's probably the most challenging role that I've ever had, because I've never had a role that requires, I've had roles that require a lot of talking, or roles that require a lot of physicality. I've never had a role that requires so much of both at all times. So, I narrate the entire show from the start to the end, and never leave the stage from the start to the end. And so that the challenge of getting through it as simply just a performer going from A to Z, from the very first scene to the very final scene, that is another challenge. But then learning all of the fight choreography, learning all of the wrestling moves, and then also incorporating stage fighting. And I'm a break dancer, so incorporating breakdancing into it, it's become this this behemoth as far as the learning all of it. and putting it all together. But I completely agree with RJ that the great part is that we have such a supportive cast and crew, you know, from the top down. It's not even just the core group of actors, but it's also the understudies. It's our lighting department, it's our costume department, it's our fight director, all of these different aspects. Everyone seems to be only interested in one thing, and that's cohesively working together to tell the best story possible.
One of the most fun, rewarding parts is honestly just getting to watch the work that y'all do. Like, I have such a good time, you know, as someone that gets to pop in scenes, then pop out of scenes, and I'm in and out a lot. When I'm out on the outside, just getting to watch is so fun. It is so entertaining, and I get to just laugh and enjoy. And y'all are hilarious and so good at telling the story, and seeing the comedic work that you do, and then seeing the just powerful, you know, really meaningful moments pop out of that as well. That has just honestly just been such a joy. And then as it's grown, and we added the fights, and I get to like kind of like peek through the curtain the other night during one of our tech run-throughs and like really see the fights implemented in the story. That was like a wow moment for me that I hadn't had the opportunity to see before. I'd seen maybe some of the fights worked on separately, and then I'd seen the scenes worked on separately, but seeing them come together, you know, watching from like kind of backstage, I was like, whoa, this is so fun. So I'm just having a blast. What's been the most challenging or scary like aspect of working on the show?
It's been life outside of the show, in terms of like now having to figure out, you know, when should I leave to come to the theater? You know, my parents live in Mission Viejo, so you know, when we're having those long days and navigating staying at home with them so I can have a shorter commute, but then going back, it's been kind of navigating life outside of the show. That has probably been more of the difficult thing, especially since I was doing a lot of stand-up shows and kind of other things. It's kind of it's adjusting my schedule to figure out how to navigate life while this show is happening. Because to be honest, like I said, anytime I walk in the theater, I just have so much fun, you know?
I think it's very telling that in a show that, as RJ described, is kind of more like a musical in some ways than a play, because of all of the elements and the music and the sound and all of the lighting things and all the cues, and we have a wrestling ring on stage. We have wrestling moves. You guys have wrestling moves to learn, and then fight choreo moves to learn, and all the video. This huge show, and everyone's like, most challenging part is my commute. The thing we're always asked is, any actors always ask, like, how do you memorize all those lines? And we're always like, that's usually the easy part. That's the hard part here. Like, it's very telling that in this huge, complicated show, we're all like, yeah, it's not all that challenging. We're having a great time. Because we're having a great time, and we trust the process, and it's just fun, right? Like, so a chance encounter is a fortuitous accident. And we end all our interviews with this question: what unexpected experience have you had working on Chad Deity that you think will have a lasting impact on you?
I kind of was doing a lot of stand-up comedy, improv, sketch, so a lot of live performing, but not theater. So I hadn't really done theater or really been in the theater world or been looking for theater. I was doing some film and TV stuff. And, you know, all of a sudden, you know, back in, you know, early 2020, I just get a random email from Jeremy saying like, hey, we're doing Chad Deity, and you know, we're trying to find a Chad Deity, and we're having callbacks this day. Can you come? Are you interested? I'm like, oh my God. Like, it wasn't even in my mind. I'm like, the role that I've always wanted to play just comes into my inbox. You know? I mean, what and just from that has led to all of this here. So for me, that was the biggest chance encounter, the biggest fortuitous experience, the biggest blessing of something kind of coming into my lap that I just had no even awareness of. And then figuring out it was one of my peers at Cal State Long Beach Theater that had suggested to Jeremy. So it's just the way those things work is so beautiful and such a blessing. So yeah.
For me, like the chance encounter of it all comes in the fact that we all got to try this 2.5 years ago, and just getting like a taste of like the cast and the crew back then, and just being so excited then to do it. And then going through that disappointment of like, I was driving down the 5 when I got the call that it was canceled, that we had to shut down for the pandemic. And that just like the disappointment, like the heart drop feeling that was just so awful. But again, I am grateful for that, because I feel like, you know, we talked about this at the beginning of our discussion, that like so much in the world has changed over the past 2.5 years, you know, on a national level, on a worldwide level, like on a personal level, we're all very different just because of what happened in the world. You know, you can't not be affected by it. But I feel like that lends itself to the relevance of this show now more than ever. And for me personally, as a performer in the show, I feel so much more connected to the material now than I even think I was 2.5 years ago.
Thank you. All right, y'all.
Yeah, man.
Take care.
Yeah, buddy.